not only data security, the aspect of retraining other employees who might have to be, who cannot be straight away let go. So all those issues are there when larger organizations, as far as vis-a-vis smaller organizations. And on the others, on the other spectrum is Bharat, who's saying that yes, there is that inertia factor, but at the same time, there is a huge push seen by his own firm that a lot of organizations are reaching out in terms of how quickly this can be done. So that's the discussion so far. So, Bharat, I'll just ask some simple question: how can ChatGPT be leveraged at the workplace? In what all ways can it be leveraged to enhance productivity and efficiency? Very basic from a AI expert, but just so that everyone is on the same page. Just that I'll, if you can fill us on this.
So to be honest, I feel the use cases are only limited by people's imagination or by regulation, right? In terms of what you do not want to do based on your industry practice or whatever. But if you largely were to look at the use cases for which uh, not just ChatGPT but generative AI itself can be used, and when I say generative AI, I'm talking about anything that can create something new like ChatGPT based on its knowledge and learning. You can distill it down to four things, in my opinion. One is assisting you through some form of automation, which needs to be reviewed by the human once it is done. The second is personalizing content, context, or whatever else you would like to create. The
Hmm.
third, analyzing existing content to give you, some context on what that content is. It could be an image, sound, it could be text, whatever. And the fourth thing is being able to ideate with it. In my opinion, the fourth uh, part is where, in my opinion, generative AI really shines, where you can ideate and come up with many different possibilities. Uh, in tackling new problems. It could be a business problem, it could be a technical problem, it could even be a personal problem, to be honest, right? You've
Correct.
seen like so many things, so many people discussing, how they've been able to use ChatGPT, for example, to plan a trip for themselves,
Correct.
budget their trip or anything, right? But the possibilities are endless, but you can bracket it down into these four possibilities.
Correct, correct. So these are the four things: are using a existing use case, using automating an existing use case, using ChatGPT for personal content creation, and then analyzing existing content, and finally the ideation. So can we go a little more deeper on this ideation part? I mean, this sounds interesting. Can you just, you mentioned about planning, but is there, what are the other ways that we can use ChatGPT for ideation?
Sure. So I'll give you a personal example of where I was able to, or where I use it for ideating. So in my job, day-to-day job, I do a lot of advisory for different clients, and one of the tasks that I have to come up with are templates that can be used for communication with my stakeholders, both internally and externally. Sometimes coming up with good ideas in terms of what needs to be presented, what are some things that I need to think about, have I covered, let's say, a scenario completely. These are things that are uh, you know time taking. They take a lot of time, review, effort. By using something like ChatGPT, for example, if I can give it context without getting into the details of who or how and things like that, because that would be a data privacy issue, I can, give it enough context where I ask it to think like a particular role of person, right? So I could say, I want you to think like a management consultant, or I want you to think like a, software engineer, or I want you to think like a, HR person, for example, who is in charge of creating an interview process. You can literally give it a role, give it a context in terms of what you wanted to give you as an outcome. You can tell it what is the output format you want, and it will give you what you're asking for, and it generates it within a few seconds. And this is something that takes you from zero to, let's say, 60-70% of your final task, which is a huge boost in terms of your efficiency in time, in terms of you looking at an idea and looking at all possible scenarios. You can even give your thoughts about how you would solve a particular problem, and ask it, hey, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve. Think about it like this kind of role, and what problems do you see in this? Have I covered everything? Are there any questions that you would ask in this case, for example? And it actually gave me excellent examples of areas that I might not have thought of deeply enough, or where my communication might not have been clear enough, or certain phrases or sentences that might be too ambiguous. So it actually points out all these things very well, and really saves a lot of time and effort. It gives you ideas for templates of what you can share with other people, to get their thoughts on certain things, creating frameworks, tools. This is an excellent way for you to get started. I'm not saying that it gives you a finished product, but it takes you from 0 to 60 to 70 to 80% of your task, and it's a breeze to get it done from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Bharat. So, just to rephrase, this is something that a lot of people mention about the persona, creating a persona part. So, what Bharat has mentioned is that with Chat GPT, especially when we are ideating about something, a project, it can give us multiple perspectives. We just have to tell it to take the persona of whether it is an HR person or an accountant, or so. Organizations, especially smaller organizations, have the benefit of a think tank to support them in the thinking process. And yes, it is not going to be a final product, but it is going to take you to 60, 70, 80% of it. So fantastic. That's a very well articulated. Thank you so much, Bharat. A lot of clarity in that. So now coming back to Prakash, would you like to add on something like on this conversation, MS?
Yeah. I think what's helpful to think about is what do people need to really shift in their thinking to get the benefits that Bharat so well articulated, right? So if I were to dwell on that, Prakash, um, people have gotten used to just surfing, jumping from here to there. And if you look at the surfing model, it's deliberately designed to encourage the clicks. So people get the referrals and the money, and you jump and you spend many hours web surfing, and you probably haven't really accumulated that much. The shift here is that with Chat GPT, look, it's more of a pull model versus a push model and just surfing. So people have to really learn the art of critical thinking and framing. What is the essence of what you're trying to do, right? And looking to refine it uh, iteratively by working with the generative AI, ChatGPT, or anything else, right? So that's a skill that people have to master. I know people mention prompt engineering and the like. So how many people have a clear head to really start with the essence of what are they really trying to solve in a given moment of time? That's a skill that people have lost, and the people who can really master that will use generative AI as a powerful assistant to a companion for their creativity and critical thinking, and be many factors more productive than those others who don't, right? Uh, the flip side of that is, yeah, ChatGPT can give you a quick answer, but if you don't ask for counterpoints, others who who do have that sense to maybe ask for counterpoints and tell a complete story will shine, right? So as individuals, we really need to, beyond the technology, shift how we think from consuming what is served and just being led to various places and advertisements to seeking what we need and being able to articulate with clarity what we are seeking, and asking the critical question that Bharat also alluded to: what else? How else can I think about it, right?
Correct.
Websites have become very much echo chambers where it'll serve you what you want to hear based on your cookie tracking and the like. But
Correct.
with ChatGPT, we have an option to really get a rounded perspective on any topic and go in with a balanced view, right? The pros, cons, right? Rather than be influenced by marketeers and others on the web, right? So, an important slight side topic that I do want to mention as an individual.
Hmm. Yeah, Prakash.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Did we
finished
lose him?
speaking, or because I was not able to hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all. I didn't want to
Okay.
take
Yeah,
too
Amos,
much time on
I
that
just
topic. Yeah.
wanted a small clarification. You were mentioning that some at an earlier stage. I mean, during this part of the conversation, you were mentioning that when it comes to, you are giving a comparison between getting information out of Chat GPT or an AI, and getting information out of your Google search. Like, I forget what exactly you mentioned. You used a certain term. Do you remember? Do you recall the difference?
Yeah, web surf, right? So web surfing, right? So the model is push, right? Google obviously is you know paid by advertisers to rank certain search results ahead of others, right? And so on and
Hmm.
so like. And similarly, social media has algorithms to show certain items on top of your feed because certain advertisers have, you know, or they have figured out that to keep you hooked in, in their interest, they make more money to keep you hooked in to serve you certain content. So it's a push model. The ChatGPT is more of a pull
Full
model,
model. Oh,
right?
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, can we master the art of pulling what we need from something like ChatGPT and other generative AI
Uh,
based on the critical thinking of what we're trying to achieve,
okay,
right?
yeah. So
As
that's what you are
individuals.
mentioning.
So
There is a critical thinking aspect required
yeah,
when it comes to using ChatGPT to the maximum potential, to its maximum advantage, or however you put it. Correct?
correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sajid, you have
Yep.
been you had raised your hand. Can you just shoot your question, Sajid?
Yes, so I've been a early adopter and just as a user, right? So one, I would take any output from ChatGPT with a pinch of salt. Reason being that anything related to TA recruitment or recruitment marketing, which I'm comfortable in and which I have some knowledge in, I would ask ChatGPT certain questions and then again recheck on what the responses are to ensure that the responses are correct, right? Because ChatGPT does throw a lot of false answers too, right? So just to the experts here, now ChatGPT 4, I believe the answer to the value of pi, the earlier version 3 point gave with the accuracy of 97.4 something, and right now it's at I think 2.7 or 3% accuracy. So how would a model which is accurate in the earlier version be less accurate right now? And again, on topics that we are not, let's say I'm not very well versed in any cloud technology, and then of course for as a learning tool I can use it, but how do I ensure that the information is accurate?
MS, you would like to take it, or anyone would like to take it?
So
Yeah,
I
I'll take a stab at it, and maybe Bharat can chime in as well. So look, folks, I think there'll be ChatGPT. In terms of if we go in terms of technical, it's a much more powerful model in the orders of billions of parameters, is what I understand. Don't remember the exact one versus Chat GPT 3 and 3.5. So I difference in how Chat GPT 4 responds. So it's a natural evolution of the technology, and uh, in fact, Chat GPT is so powerful. 4 is so powerful that they had to go very slow in rolling it out to the public and so on and so forth. Right. So that process will accelerate, and these models will get better and better. One way to think of it is, at least in the case of ChatGPT, it's been trained on the corpus of information on the entire World Wide Web, up to September 2021. So what that means is that literally all websites up to September 2021 have been crawled, and all that information is informing ChatGPT 4, right? So the possibility that somebody is while it does exist, while somebody can create a web page to say pi is really 6.28. Sorry, so just riding on that example, hang with me. And then ChatGPT picking it up where the rest of the web is saying for whatever decimals, as an example, is limited, right? So actually, ChatGPT, with the right controls, and OpenAI is being very thoughtful about it, can be an important tool to fight misinformation. Because even if you put up a website and I read it, I can ask ChatGPT something like, "What's the prevailing understanding of any number of controversial topics out there, right? And is there any truth to X and things of that nature?" Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Good. Bharat, you would like to add that? Add to some?
Yeah, so there are a lot of checks and balances that you can actually do in your prompt engineering, to be honest, to make sure that the output you receive from tools like ChatGPT can be verified in some way, right? So this all comes down to the skill of the person using the tool, unfortunately, and it takes practice and time to actually get there. But a couple of things, I think I would like to do a plus one to what Prakash said earlier, which is uh, critical thinking is very important. It's very important to evaluate what you get back from any tool, regardless of how good you think it is. You need to put time and effort into making sure that what you get back is correct. And that onus is on you as the user, to be honest. You can ask it to cite its sources if it provides your input. For example, you can check the site, you can check the sources when it cites them, and this is one way of double checking the information that you get back. You can ask it to go into detail about why it gave you that answer. In fact, you can give it back its output and say, why did you give me this output? And it will try to explain that. And when you ask it to give its sources, it can give you those sources as well. So there are checks and balances that you can provide as a user to make sure that the output that you're getting back from these tools is good, for example, or it can be verified in some way. But most of all, you really need to think about it as a critical thinker. You cannot take something at face value. You have to make sure that you investigate it, which is why earlier when I said what do you use it for, you can use it as an assistant. You use it to assist yourself, not to automate things, because one of the uh, problems with using it for automation is you just use it and use the output and don't think about what it has provided. But when you think about it as an assistant, you sometimes do have to check what it does, or you have to make sure that what it provides back is correct, because the onus of correctness is on you as the user, not on the tool itself. The way that the tool works is by predicting the next word or the next phrase that it needs to give you back. So, as a user, for example, if you read a novel, you might be able to predict the end based on what you have read so far. Tools like ChatGPT work the exact same way. It is a mathematical algorithm that gives you what you're getting back. Sometimes the mathematical algorithm can be corrupted due to a lack of data. Uh, so it makes it kind of predict something completely out of bounds from what you think should be the correct answer. So make sure that you check it, work on your prompt engineering skills, and make sure that you uh, tie all the loose ends when you get output back, especially if it's very important that you be correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Bharat.
Yeah.
Sajid, does that
Yeah,
you
great
got a
thoughts, both
very
Prakash and Bharat. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, thanks, Sajid.
And I
Okay.
want to maybe,
Uh,
Prakash, if it's okay, I'll just overlay a small thought on top of what Bharat said. Um,
huh.
I think the way to think of it, folks, is that, uh, I know a lot of people worry about being replaced by AI and so on. I think before that will happen, what will happen is the people who are able to build those critical thinking skills and their creativity and supplement that with generative AI would first really, replace those who are not able to, right? So in fact, this is the time for really critical thinking and human creativity to really take front and center and be augmented by tools like ChatGPT and other generative AI technologies. That's a unbeatable combination. If we all we do is paste, copy and paste whatever ChatGPT told us and say, hey, that's really what we're doing. Extrapolate out of that, you can surely expect that in the future that people will say, why do I need a human there, right? If there's no creativity, there's no critical thinking, and that uh, like we talked last time, Prakash, if we don't bring human critical thinking, creativity, and compassion to what we do as humans, then we risk being replaced by AI. And in the worst instance, if using tools like ChatGPT frees you a lot of time, that time is going back to we give it back to the machines in terms of being influenced by social media instead of building our critical thinking, then we get controlled by AI even further and manipulated, perhaps. So I know I get philosophical about this, but it can,
Yeah.
we got to, as humans, think about this and really use this time, all the routine number crunching, big multi-sheet Excels and all that to analyze takes a long time, create. To Bharat's point earlier, the generative AI technologies can help you with all that heavy lifting
Hmm.
and give you the insights, and you still creativity and your critical thinking to overlay on top of that to really be more valuable. And that is an unbeatable combination.
Uh, thank you, MS. So, what one theme that is coming out from this discussion is the importance of critical thinking, and you really put the nailed it very well, MS, when you said that for employees or people to be there is still there are a lot of people who think that AI is going to take away the jobs, or there is this fear mongers, or there are people who are buying into that kind of a fear, just like what happened say 20 years ago when Google came in. So the question is, we are talking about critical thinking. So are we saying that what exactly are we talking about when we're talking about critical thinking? So are we saying that people who are already in the tech space, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to voice something, people who are in the tech space have a definite advantage when it comes to AI than those, or let's put it this way, people who are tech savvy have an advantage when it comes to adopting chat GPT or generative AI, or are the other people who are not so aware about maybe programming skills or stuff like that, are they going to be shortchanged? Anybody here would like to take that question?
I can take a first stab. So short answer is no, Prakash. In fact, generative AI is going to democratize the use of AI, right? Including
Mm.
Chat GPT. The most important skill really is, I think linguists will do the best. I know there's a big term called prompt engineering. And at the end of it, it is really about framing your first stop question, reading carefully and thoughtfully the response that you get from a chat GPT or another generative AI tool or engine, and framing the next question and the next question to get a well-rounded perspective. So I would say people who are more into language arts, psychology, they may be great at uh, engineering if they are coached and trained. And I wish we didn't use the term engineering because that scares a lot of people.
Correct.
At the end of it, it's really all about framing question. I'm taking every opportunity to people not to be scared of concepts like prompt engineering. Thankfully, there's so many tools out there, cheat sheets on how to design prompts for anything, that this will start to trickle down people, anybody in any walk of life. The key is, are you clear what you're looking to solve for? or are you still in this web serving mode to say, I don't know what I want, but I'll figure out once I see what I want, right? Mode that we've gotten all used to and have perhaps conditioned to, right? So I'll stop there, and maybe others on the panel can chime in with their thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Uh, uh, Bharat, you want to say so? Add something to the
Yes,
conversation? Yeah.
I again plus one to what Prakash said in terms of democratizing the power of AI to both technologists and non-technologists. I think about 1 year back when GPT was not as good as it is today. Uh, the You really needed to understand machine learning, deep learning. You needed to understand neural networks very well, and there was a very small number of people that could use the power of machine learning, deep learning, to be able to do something even similar, right? Once GPT 4, I mean 3.5 came out, I think it kind of tilted the balance in terms of the skills needed to be able to use the power of machine learning, deep learning. uh, Anybody can do well. I especially like the fact that Prakash mentioned psychologists, because psychology plays a big part in the answers that you can get back. So if you guys do use ChatGPT, for example, try asking it to create an article using the curiosity gap. So curiosity gap is a psychology related term which allows you to create clickbait, for example, titles or content, which kind of gets the users or your readers more drawn in towards what you're trying to do, because it's actually a way of framing content or a question or a title. So using understanding how to put forward your answers in a concise way, because to be honest, time is money and words are money in terms of all these large language models. So understanding how to be concise, understanding how to uh, make the most of what you're trying to tell it, in order to get back something, how to fine tune what you keep getting back from it, to show patience, to show skill at being able to articulate what you need better and better as you keep using it, will make it will make you stand out in terms of how you use this. And that's pretty much what prompt engineering, for example, is all about. So first there's prompt design, so that's how you design something, and there are plenty of tools available today. So prompt hero, for example, is a great tool if you guys haven't heard of it before to use. uh,
What is it? Prompt?
Prompt hero.
Hero.
Yeah,
Okay.
PROMPTHERO.
Prompt
So
hero. Okay.
Hero is great for designing or creating prompts based on what you want to use it. In fact, you can even use ChatGPT to ask you to create a prompt itself. You can tell it, this is the output I want. How do I create a prompt for this? So you can do reverse prompt engineering, which is another thing that you can learn. Uh, Saying that this is the output that I want. What kind of prompt would I use to get this kind of output? And it can actually give you back the output that, I mean, the prompt that you can use going forward, right? So
Well,
there are multiple ways in which you need to use it. So one, you need to understand the language of the large language model. Being a linguist is great, but you also need to understand what works and what does not work, and this comes only with practice. So the more you play with these, the better you get at these. So yes, you do need some basic language skills, but more importantly, you need to understand the psychology aspects of this, as well as being able to understand what are the ways in which you can parameterize this so that you can keep reusing the same thing that works over and over again.
okay. Thank you, Bharat. I would just like to ask a couple of questions. Is there anything that we can? Because I'm also what you can call it. I play around with ChatGPT a lot. Any particular books or any particular online way where we can really come up to speed, which are really good on ChatGPT,
Yeah,
especially the prompt part?
Prakash. Yes, Prakash Amitava here.
Yes, yes, Amitava.
Yeah,
Just can you
Prakash. Huh.
just can you hold a little, Amitava? Just Bharat, can you please respond to
Okay,
that?
okay, sure.
So promptingguide.ai is a great resource if you guys have not used it before. It's I mean, I it's not anything. I don't have anything related to it. I don't have a stake in it. but I love the way that they have laid out all their information. They teach you how to design prompts, use prompts, what are the different techniques you can use, etc., in a very relatable way. So,
Oh,
promptingguide.ai is a wonderful resource, whether
oh.
you're a beginner, intermediate, or an advanced user of generative AI.
Thank you so much. Now, Amitava, you can ask your questions. And by the way, Chayan, you there is some problem. I'm unable to add you to the speaking area. Maybe you are using a mobile, or maybe you should just try to log in again because I'm not able to add you to the speaking area. Amitava, your question, please.
No,
Um,
I just Prakash, I just want to add the name of two plugins which are very useful
mhm.
for this prompt engineering or to developing your prompt writing skill. One is that Flow GPT, and the next one is that Snack Prompt. Okay, these two plugins are very useful because you may be beginner, but you will be an advanced stage of using. Chat GPT. If you can master your skill of using plugins, different plugins of Chat GPT, so it will really boost your productivity. And two very useful plugins I also personally use, that is a Flow GPT and Stack Prompt.
Stack prompt,
Yes.
STAC, stack prompt,
Yes,
and Pro
yeah.
GPT.
What happens the because there are they here you'll find the community who contributes their prompt, okay, on different subject, on different aspects. So that helps to develop a community inside our prompt engineering aspect or prompt engineering field. That will help to build your prompt writing skill also.
Fantastic. Thank you,
Okay,
Amitwa. Thanks for the input. I'll
okay,
noted it down. I'll be sharing all these names on the event page. Raghavendra,
yes,
you have been there for a while. Raghavendra, your question, please.
I unmuted. Just I thank you for allowing me to speak. The first thing, the basic thing which I would like to add over here. So in my work profile, let us say, the time consuming for me is going to be preparing innovative PPT. So which is going to be a lot of googling I have to do and do so many things. I also referred some of the YouTube videos, and then so I tried to create slides using the chat GPT. So effectively, it could able to give the correlative pictures, innovative pictures, and visualization, audio visual kind of things. It could able to give it as an output. But as all the panel members said, the content is not at all relative. But it is only help you that designing innovative whatever that you are trying to find out in the general website. This is going to be a time consuming job wherein ChatGPT is really going to help you out, ease out that that is going to be available. But again, I'm saying that the critical thinking you have to add it. So that is what the basic purpose, wherein I really see that it is really useful and helpful. This is one view. And second view, I'm going to add. Just I finished my one of the good certification course from one of the business campus. I also come across the professors have been conducted one of the workshop, especially on the chart GPT. There are so many experts was part of the workshop, and the outcome of the workshop, I also just based on the interest, actually, I export some information. Chart GPT is only one we are talking today. There are so many Chart GPT kind of the platforms are coming up in the near future. It is not going to take a much more time. It is going to be there. But I was thinking that how it is going to helpful. Let us say it is going to really replace the human. Let us say, for example, ChatGPT or other innovative platforms are coming up is really going to take away the jobs or replacing the humans. So it is not actually I was correlating in a way that just I would say that there was one conference happened in Japan, which is the initiative they took called as Geneva conference. So they were talking about two topics there: industry 5.0, and also they were talking about something called as society 5.0. There are two topics they were talking about. So what exactly it says is going to be the humans and cobots are going to work collaboratively. So how it is going to happen? So they are telling that the most of the human critical thinking where human is going to work, and rest of the artificial intelligence platforms are going to work collaboratively with the humans, where all the places it is really required, where human need not to spend much time about over there, and then they can really think about the critical thinking and as well as the innovative thinking. So I'm just trying to draw a line. A basic purpose today it is addressed by ChatGPT, and second, there are many more innovative tools are going to come up. We have to habituated using and taking the benefit what is going to help us in the basic needs. Apart from that, it is also going to define in a society such in a way in the long future there is a cobot, artificial intelligence and human are going to work together. So somewhere that there is a connect. I feel it. This is the view. Just I would like to add to the audience.
Thanks. Thanks, Raghavendra. Thanks for kind of giving that kind of an overall
Hey,
perspective. Thank you for that.
Prakash.
Chayan, now that you are in, Chayan, now that you are in the room, can you just unmute and speak your question? Say,
Yeah,
Chayan?
thank
Yes,
you,
Chayan.
Prakash. Yeah, I hope
Yep.
you can hear me, right?
Yep. Clear.
Yeah, quite interesting discussion. I have actually thought process, so wanted to check with you all. So I know like Gen AI is kind of becoming very popular, and now people will use it more and more and more. The days goes by, right? And the more matured the models will become. So is there any like kind of possibility that what we are using now, right? Like as a human or natural creativity and all, innovative idea, like what we can think of, that will become really artificial, like will be limited by this Gen AI tool response, and whatever idea or suggestion or solution they will give will be like bound by only those, and we'll stop using our own creativity, and will not give more importance to that natural kind of creativity, whatever we used to have before this AI tool.
Chayan, I think this was a question that something was addressed, something similar, but I'll let MS Prakash answer this. Prakash, would you like to take that?
Hey, Prakash, sorry I got distracted because I was getting a
Okay.
ping from somebody. Maybe Bharat can take this one.
Yeah,
But
Bharat.
since I have the mic, I'll talk a little bit about what I believe Raghavendra said earlier. So yesterday, Microsoft announced Microsoft 365 Copilot, and we all know that most of the Office tools, Teams, email, Outlook, PowerPoint, and others are all created by Microsoft, and they dominate that space. Of course, there's Google Docs and others too, and they literally can take you all the way from crunching an Excel of numbers to giving you insights to crafting an email response to generating the PowerPoint with not just the cool designs that Raghavendra mentioned, but perhaps some relevant content. So things are moving pretty rapidly and getting integrated end to end, right? I know talked a lot about philosophy. My favorite, I will mention my favorite plugin is Merlin, and it's really integrates into the browser, allows me to summarize YouTube documents, and saves me so much time. I don't need to watch a 2 hour YouTube video to get the gist of the 4 or 5 points, right? As an example, or large PDFs that get thrown at me. Of course, non-work, personal stuff. But anyway, with that, over to you, Bharat, to address Chayan's question. And sorry, I got pulled into another ping that I had to address. I couldn't quite get the question.
Okay. Bharat, you are ready, or shall I?
Yeah. So, China, I think there's definitely a big risk of people stopping to use their critical thinking, and I'll use the word critical thinking because I think that's the key part to it. In terms of being able to evaluate what is good and bad going forward. So, when microwaves were introduced, for example, in the US, a lot of people stopped learning how to cook. So, I think this is very similar to that case where using generative AI is a it gives you a shortcut towards getting things done. And I do see that a lot of people take what these tools give you as something written in stone, and don't evaluate what is returned by it. You can think about it in terms of code, in terms of text, whatever, right? But a lot of people just copy paste whatever is there without worrying about where this information is coming from. Is it biased? Is it giving an accurate reflection of what is supposed to be returned? Is the construct or the structure of it correct? All of those things. And people might lean too heavily on tools like this and forget to use their own inbuilt creativity and thinking. That is a very real danger, and I have seen it started happening already. So you can only imagine, as these things get better and better, how things are going to be. uh, but one thing I will say is that this also separates the wheat from the chaff, in terms of, the people that understand how to limit the influence this has on your overall work, on your overall thinking, is what really makes the difference between somebody who is good, who understands what they're supposed to do, versus somebody who is just trying to take a shortcut in creating these. A good example is in the ghostwriting industry today.
Okay.
Ghostwriting is where you create text and things like that for others. So if you go to places like freelancer.com and Fiverr, etc., you
Hmm.
can get people to write content for you, and get things done for you, right? There is a big difference between what a human produces and an AI produces. I think as you keep working more and more in this field, you will be able to start to see patterns as to what is AI versus what is human. And uh, as people keep working with this, you will notice a market decline in quality from people who just use AI. So the people who really understand their craft, who understand how to do things, I mean, by as using this as an assistant rather than using it to do their jobs, will succeed a lot more. But that this cycle will happen, though, of people perhaps losing, the ability to think without an AI, for example.
Okay, okay, okay. So interesting, interesting. I hope Chayan has got his
Prakash, if
gotten
I
his.
can overlay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please,
Prakash,
yes,
if I
please,
can
yes, Prakash.
briefly overlay some thought on it, I would argue that, look, that type of uh, lack of the degradation of critical thinking has been happening for a while, and largely we may not have seen it powered by AI, because I'll tell you, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, but Google, Facebook, all had large language models and all kinds of ranking algorithms to serve you content to keep them in their ecosystems. And those largely meant that you were in echo chambers that reinforced your thinking and degraded your critical thinking, right? So we've been on that path for a while. I'm actually a little excited that, because of the push versus the pull model that I mentioned, that hopefully we people at scale don't get manipulated. But the important thing is all the free time that hopefully we have because of AI assistants like ChatGPT and others. What do we do with it? Right? Do we go into our echo chambers, and or do we thinking with that time that is set free, or do we connect with other people even though who may disagree with us on opinions? That's really the full circle that we need to think about as civilization.
Correct, correct. So there are multiple aspects to this. One is, as Bharat mentioned, that okay, because of the ease with which we are able to churn out content, there will be one bunch of people who are churning out content, but at the same time not giving enough critical thought to it. Especially some content, sometimes content which has a huge, what should we say, an impact. That kind of content, it is being, if it is being churned in a kind of automated manner, it will lead to some kind of degradation. But at the same time, we initially also discussed about how chat gpt is going to be a master tool in the hands of then definitely chat gpt is going to really improve the person's critical thinking ability. Just like an example, it was about Khan Academy, which was talking about how by using generative AI teaching systems, a child is able to grasp the concepts much more clearly, because the time is so quick. Child just has to ask a question: how was this calculation done? And if the child is able to ask such questions, the model is able to come back with the working behind it. Whereas if it had been a teacher, maybe some cases the teacher might not even be able to explain it. At the same time, some cases it might take much more longer. So various aspects to it. Prakash, you wanted to say something right now?
No,
Yeah.
I'm good. I think it was just
Okay.
some
Okay.
text
I would like to
alerting in
add
my
here.
phone that was opening mic. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Prakash, I would
Raghavendra, you
like to
wanted to
add
add
here.
something?
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to add
See,
something. Yeah. Yeah.
so Raghavendra here. So actually, so the users, basically, when you look at the users who are all using this ChatGPT. So you pick up an example, so some student want to have an answer for a particular question, it is a crisp and clear and straight to the point. I want to make a calculation like this, how it is going to helpful. It is a straight question, and there is no point, so he will get some clues, and based on that he can work on it. Second, when you come to the composition of the employees are approaching to the chat GPT in what way, in what sense? So I would say that, let us say that, let us take as an example of a email which I have written. So I am not sure about it whether it is clear or not. Do I believe that the chat GPT is a validation point which is going to help me that, yeah, whatever you have written is correct? Is it like a programmer who has written a program and he is believing ChatGPT is a validation point, giving an input and validating it? So what I could see, students' composition is okay. They are asking a straight question, they are getting an answer. When it comes to an employees, they are stopping their critical thinking. They're looking for a second validation point, whether what I'm doing is correct or not. This is actually, I see this trend is really not a good sign, what I feel it. Somewhere the fear is trying to put them, so go for a second validation of chat gpt. Like I would say that, no, I want to cry and looking for a shoulder. I look at the shoulder is kind of a chat gpt. It is going to be a trustable resource which is going to validate it. If that sense, if you take it, you blindly go ahead what is the validation has given as an outcome of chat gpt. This is the dangerous symptom, what I feel it. The
Agreed.
outcome needs to
Agreed.
be validated. The outcome needs to be validated by the user in a proper way, and after that you are presenting it is fine. Otherwise you blindly take it up is really dangerous.
Agreed, agreed, Raghavendra. I think that is something that we initially also discussed, that the output from the chat GPT without question, if you're taking it, we are going to be getting into trouble. So that was something that I think even Bharat or Prakash mentioned earlier. So yes, that is something that we have to factor in. We cannot look at generative AI as our end solution provider. We have to be, that is where the critical thinking aspect part, we have to do the critical thinking and ask the questions, the right questions, and maybe as asking questions which are where are the which part of it we don't lack knowledge. I mean, which areas are we not clear about? So those kind of questions are required if we are creating whether you call it PPTs or whether some kind of a solutions in an organizational setup. So that was I mean, you came up with a very valid point, Raghavendra. Taking this chat GPT as a validator, end validation agent can definitely lead us to problems. So anyone else wants to share anything, would like to have any questions of the people, any thoughts, any insights, most welcome. Otherwise, we are just nearing the end of this discussion. Anyone would like to say anything? Most welcome. Yes, Vivek. Anybody would like to answer that, Bharat or Prakash?
So I
What?
completely agree with what Vivek said. He's completely right. You can't. There are things that all these generative AIs are good at, and things that they're not good at. And you really need to understand what is the best use case that works for these things. And that's kind of going back to the four things that I said that they are good for, right? So assisting you with your work by automating some menial tasks, or analyzing things, or personalizing things, or being able to uh, you know understand what you're trying to do. But coming up with these use cases is critical, and you really do need to outline whether you really need to use generative AI in the first place. There is this problem of trying to hit everything that looks like a nail with a hammer, even though it might not need it. So understanding the use case and figuring out whether you need to use something like a generative AI in the first place is very important. So for example, a lot of people love to use generative AI to create code, but the code that it generates is usually wrong. And I personally have found that even tools like Copilot, for example, uh, you know give you a code that is not great for production level or whatever, right? And you spend more time trying to debug and trying to fix that code than it would have taken you to create that from scratch in the first place. So it is very important for you to understand what it is good for, what it is not good for. And but you can, to a certain extent, alleviate those issues using the right input, a prompt in this case, or giving it the right context which allows it to understand what you need to create. And that is a skill that comes only with practice. And it's not something that you can just get out of the box. So that those are things that you really need to think about.
Yeah. I think, Prakash, if I can overlay a little bit on what Bharat said. So I think there's no question that right now we're in this hype phase with generative AI and especially Chat GPT. And then there's also this phenomena where people try to, stump the chump kind of pattern, where you try to ask the question and tell the whole world, look what Chat GPT gave me. The way to think of it is, look, the capabilities of these tools, just the nature of these technologies, and the computing power that's at disposal right now is going to keep growing. So, uh, just writing it off that, okay, I on day X a year I got this answer, so this must not be good, is a little bit risky. At the same time, you can't. It's not a sledgehammer. You can't use it for everything. I will share my own experience. I've been programming for 30 years now, in all kinds of languages. Recently, I started learning Python, but because of my intense day job, I don't get much time. I have the idea on what I want to do, but so I integrated my integrated development environment with Copilot, and it's great because I remember the syntax, and earlier I have to Google it. Uh, but I am in control of what I want to solve. What I'm using the Copilot is to generate small little snippets. Previously, I would go to Stack Overflow and get wrong answers and this and that and the other. Uh, so I think that there's flip sides to everything. It's how you use the tool, right? And where you overlay your creative thinking, where you go with what it has, and so on and so forth. Right? That's one thing. Personal experience I'll share with how Copilot has helped me to really master a new language and really become proficient, where I can actually create an app with it. Right?
Thanks, Prakash. So, when Bharat was, thank you for that clarification and also that input. I guess Vivek's query has been clarified. Now, just wanted to put in one something that has always been on my mind. There is a lot of talk that you can create code. Something that I have always kind of, you could call it a childish desire to suppose. If you don't know software programming, can you create an app? That is the question. So how difficult is it? maybe that's not the right question. Is it worth pursuing a project of creating an app if you don't know programming? I'll let me put it that way. Would anyone like to answer that?
If you're looking to prototype something, please use any of these tools to do it. In fact, there's a tool called, or there's a website called literally anything.ai, where you can go and ask it to build a site for you, and tell it this is what you want it to do, and it will create the site for you in a few seconds, right? So you don't even have to go through your GPT to do it. It's called literally anything, right?
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And does that is that a good enough site for you to be able to move it to production? No, but can it give you uh, a starting point for your idea to, kind of expand on your thoughts if you're not a programmer? Definitely yes. So those are great starting points for you to uh, you know make your bring your ideas to life, to just to see what it would look like, for you to get a starting point in your journey towards creating something.
Fantastic.
Will that be good enough for you to move it to a production like environment and use it commercially? I would say no. So you definitely do need somebody who understands how to maintain it and extend it, because you're not going to be satisfied with a very basic idea, right? But
Correct, correct.
as a learning tool, it's definitely great. If you want to experiment with all of these things, it's great. But it's great only to an awareness level. If you want to get to an intermediate or a capable level where you can actually do something with what you're learning, there are better tools than using AI for this. Uh,
Okay.
you should
Thank
not
you.
use AI for this.
Thanks, Bharat. Thanks. That's. I mean, that is a good answer. And also, Surendra here has been waiting on the lines for some time. Surendra, you have a question right now?
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Prakash. So I wanted to just add a plus. So I think Prakash has been very informative. I think thank you so much, Prakash. I think whatever you said was really prompt. Okay, Bharat, thank you so much. Technically adding value so much, and Raghavendra, you added so much of scope and what is going to be the next types. But all it started. I just wanted to add plus here. All it started with an uh, critical thinking. Critical thinking. I think that's where Prakash started. Uh, right, Prakash?
Correct,
I think.
correct, correct.
Yeah,
Yes. So
yeah.
there's a
Critical
confusion here. Which
thinking.
Prakash
Yeah.
are you referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Two Prakash. I think both of you were talking about critical thinking.
Yeah, I think it was MS Prakash who's
Yeah,
talking.
MS Prakash. Yes.
Yep, yep, yep.
When it is a critical thinking, it all started. This AI, right? How now Bharat recently said, if you really wanted to run a practice on top of intermediate level, it is not the right moment. Am I right, Bharat?
I would say it's not the right tool. Maybe there are better
Yeah,
options
better. If you really want to run a practice in the sense, you fall into an regulatory compliance.
Not only regulatory, we are talking about production. I mean, commercially, if you want to make profits out of something, you have to be quick, you have to be really good, you have to satisfy a lot of multiple complaint requirements. But if you are trying to be experimenting, you are trying to learn something, then it's a good objective to have. So that's what
Yes,
I think
yes.
Bharat was mentioning.
Yeah, learning curve is an amazing tool, but it all started with that intent action model. That's all AI is working today. Intent action. So the algorithm today, whatever the usage and the traffic we see on so many AI tools, or there's so many plugins for your Chrome or an Edge, or you talk about any such application. You have got so many integration tools, AI tools, which is going to be a fascinating experience at a consumer level, like at an individual level. But at an organization level, yes, I think there is so much of I think there comes again cyber security and
Hello, I think. Hello, can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear
Hello?
you,
Yeah,
Prakash.
I
I
can
think
hear
we
you.
But
You can
lost
hear.
Surendra,
Surendra.
Surendra is. Meanwhile, Pooja is here. Pooja, you wanted to say something? You wanted to add? Pooja?
am I audible?
Yeah, now you are audible, Surendra.
Okay.
So And now you are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible now.
Yes. Okay. What I'm trying to say here is the plus is I think another 5 years or a decade. I think Web3 is going to give a different experience to enjoy AI altogether. In the prompt engineering and a prompt hero, when we talk, I think all these realistic, practical execution, practical empowerment using AI advancements for human engineering and all that. I think with critical thinking, I think Web3 is going to be the future where we can see so much of advanced AI mechanisms.
Correct, correct,
Gosh,
correct.
yes.
Yeah,
So that is the
correct.
future. I think things
That's
are
beautiful.
currently the intermediate stage. There is so much of excitement. People are thinking that AI is doing so much of content writing job for me. AI is giving so much of help in revising my PMP, revising my project management report, or I have to generate any sales report. All that, no, that critical thinking input is a learning experience for an algorithm. Right now, that is an evolution stage. I think in another 5 years, 10 years, so I think we get a fantastic experience on the Web3. I
Correct.
really wanted lots of inputs from technical people. I'm more functional. I'm a product owner. I can basically be a critical thinker.
Okay, 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 okay. Anybody wants to add to that what Surendra mentioned about Web3, or maybe any comments and from anyone? We are we are we are nearing the end of
Yeah, I
it.
think I
Just
think the gist of
yeah, yes, Prakash. Yeah,
yeah, I think Prakash, if you need to wrap up, I know we're going over. That's fine, but very briefly, I think the element of Web3 that would be relevant here is that uh, while there's a lot to Web3 and blockchain and everything gets thrown together, on is the idea that it's a very decentralized web, and don't have large players that control your data and stuff, right? So I think that's probably what Surendra is talking about is
Yes,
in
yes,
that
yes. You
realm,
nailed it.
you yeah, so you're not worried that people are mining your prompts and trying to then manipulate you in some way, right? It's similar to how people can mine searches and serve a content that really draws you into echo chambers and leads you to believe certain things, right? So
correct,
that's the
correct.
risk that
It's
Web3
all
can
around play
potentially
around with the
alleviate.
data, play around with data.
Okay, 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 okay. Just since we are towards the end, one last question. Pooja, you have been waiting for some time. I'll just take that question from.
Thank you, Prakash.
Thank
Thank you, Surendra. Pooja,
Thank you.
yes. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Prakash. So, I don't have any questions like that, but I just wanted to know the opinions from the expertise that currently I'm working as a HRBP, so it is quite a challenging role for me because I did have experience in a HR operation side. So this is quite a challenging and good role for me. So I have a just basic question that if using this ChatGTP tool, sometimes now I'm often rely on this tool because to improve the sentence structure because in a professional email. So is it like I'm just curious to know if it is a good method or if it may be a potential cause any problem to like because sometimes I'm using to correct the sentence like is it a good sentence or is it not a very not a structured sentence? So just wanted to opinion on that.
Anybody, Prakash or Bharat?
Yeah, so I'll take a stab at it. So I think going back to what Bharat was also alluding, you can certainly use ChatGPT for it, Pooja, but honestly, Google in Gmail has been using language models to,
Yes.
Yes.
prompt you for the next word and so on. I personally have been using a tool called Grammarly for a long time
Okay.
that is very, very tuned to this type of uh, writing, right? You check
Right.
for grammar, you check for tone, and in the near future, I expect Microsoft 365 to start to be able to integrate prompt and craft meaningful emails, including analyzing perhaps some large Excel with data to include that insights into the email response. So, sorry, short answer there since we are running short on time, but that's my experience.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Bharat,
Thank
you
you.
wanted to add? You wanted to
Yeah,
add something
I
on
have
that?
a slightly divergent view. So I feel like so I've been using the latest the Google tools that have come out as workspaces, thanks to my company having an early look at it. And I must say that ChatGPT is way better than what Google has as of right now, in terms of being able to create, do the things that you were talking about, Pooja.
Yeah.
But please do use it. But I will go back to what I've been repeating. Please make sure you read what it says,
Yes.
or what it gives you, to make sure that it is what you want. Because if it gives you the opposite of what you're looking for, it could be a problem. And please don't use it for any confidential information that your company may be talking about. Uh, there's always a chance of a leak, so please don't use that. Use GPT for that. In that sense, using your traditional Gmail tools or your Office 365 inbuilt tools to correct stuff is great. If you're looking for things around sentence construction, Grammarly is great. There's another one called Quillbot, which is
Right.
QUIL.
Right. I'm using the same. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can use that as well for your grammar and sentence construction. It works just as well as Grammarly does, and you can switch between both to make sure that you capture all the issues you have with your language if needed.
Thank you, thank you
Thank.
both. Thank you, and thank you, Pooja, for that question. And let me thank both MS Prakash, and Bharat for taking their time off from their schedules to share their insights and inputs on this very fascinating topic. It is changing. The world is changing around AI from month to month. So that is why I think we will be revisiting this topic more often in the future. And so nice of both of you to give such detailed responses, and a lot of insights in terms of, especially in terms of that push and pull model, of the push model of that earlier web surfing days, and moving on to the pull model, which is entirely, it is in our hands what we pull out of generative AI. It depends upon how we use it, and the moral is that we have to use our brains to get the most out of it. uh, we will be continuing with this conversation again, and let me thank all who are here. Can I see some emojis out here, people? I hope you also enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and I hope you found it useful. Thank you, Aniket, for that heart. Thank you, Mega. Thank you, Prathamesh, Avinash, and awesome. Thank you, Vic. uh, Geetam saying thank you. So amazing, folks. Thank you so much, and please do place a like on the event page, so that the word spreads and we are able to have more and more people knowing about the importance of this topic. And so many questions came up, so many questions are not asked. So I hope that with spreading this word, spreading the right kind of information, more and more people are able to really use this powerful tool that we have in our hands. Thank you, folks, and see you soon.